Hello everyone, we are Group 5 and our topic is parallel import of products with trademark in another jurisdiction into the Chinese market and infringement, and we will talk about 6 parts. The first part is the exhaustion doctrine and the definition of parallel importation. IP generally permits the right holders to exclude others from the market. A trademark allows the business owner to prevent others from using distinctive sign. These negative rights effectively allow the owners to make the first sale of protected goods or services on the market to the exclusion of others. But trademark right to exclude is limited by the doctrine of exhaustion of rights. The exhaustion doctrine of trademark rights is defined as the limitation on a trademark owner's right to assert his trademark rights after the trademark owner or his licensee have put the marked products onto the market. In other words, a trademark owner is stopped from the further flow of his trademark goods that he has released them in the marketplace. As we all know, for all countries, IP rights are exhausted when goods or services are first sold within the national territory, but countries need not limit their exhaustion policies to the national territory. They can also allow exhaustion outside the national territory. So, in this situation, the exhaustion doctrine of trademark rights provides the legal basis for parallel importation. Parallel importation of trademark products refers to brand goods manufactured and sold in the country or area where the trademark owner is located or where the trademark products are authorized to be manufactured and sold. The trademark products are then imported into the country or areas where the trademark owner or the exclusive licensee enjoys the trademark and the related rights without the authorization of the trademark owner or the exclusive licensee. So according to the above 2 concepts, there are 3 different geographical concepts of trademark right exhaustion and parallel importation: national, regional, and international. Under a national exhaustion policy, the trademark holder's right to exclude is only extinguished when the trademark products are put onto the market in the national territory, and there are no parallel imports permitted. Under a regional exhaustion policy, the trademark holder's right is extinguished when a trademark goods or services is put onto the market within any country of a defined region, such as the European Union. Parallel imports are permitted, but only within the regional territory. Under an international exhaustion policy, the trademark holder's right is extinguished when a trademark product is put onto the market anywhere in the world. Parallel imports are permitted also anywhere in the world. And there is an example. Swiss law may provide that when an automobile is lawfully for first sale or under the Mercedes trademark in Germany, the trademark right of Daimler to first sell the automobile is exhausted under the corresponding or parallel Swiss Mercedes trademark. A consumer who purchases a new Mercedes in Germany can freely import and resell that automobile in Switzerland. And in fact, the practice will be different in different countries. Governments will, based on different policy and economic considerations, to adopt different types of exhaustion and parallel importation policies for trademark rights. So that's all about my part, and I will introduce my group mate to talk about next part.
Hi, hello there, I'm Liu Tong. So, as you may learn from part 1, in general, there are 3 doctrines of trademark exhaustion. The national exhaustion, which provides strongest protection to trademark owner, and on the contrary, the international exhaustion, which is in favor of free trade policy, globalization, and the benefit to customer. For part 2, I will present the particular doctrine of regional exhaustion and its practice in European Economic Area. Briefly, what we call European Economic Area includes all member states of European Union, plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. Also, the United Kingdom is still under the region at least until the end of this year. For the regional exhaustion, the general presumption is that if the trademark owner has sold his product in any one country of the European Economic Area, his right derived from trademark will be exhausted within the rest of the area, and the owner has no power to interfere the subsequent distribution of his goods. But if the goods was sold outside the area and imported back, for example, which we call a parity importation, the trademark rights are not exhausted. Also, there's a backdoor. Say, if the importer can obtain its price constant from the trademark owner, it will not be a problem. Um, so why the trademark should be regionally exhausted within the European Economic Area? The theoretical and political base is the free movement of goods, which is derived from the establishment of European Union. Because the goal of European Union is to establish an internal single market and to eliminate the border between member states. Also, it concerns to promote competition because in a full competition market, sellers are more likely to reduce the price to attract the customer. Of course, there are also exceptions. If the trademark owner has a legitimate reason, for example, if the condition of the imported goods has been changed substantially, the trademark owner has the right to interfere because the changing condition may potentially result in product defect and as a result damage the trademark owner's brand reputation. At this point, case refer to Dior versus Evora. In in the case, Evora is a discount supermarket. He got Dior perfume and prepared to sell them. The problem was that Evora advised the customer he had Dior perfume by the way of promotional leaflets. And in the leaflet, he put Dior together with low-priced goods such as toilet paper. As we all know, Dior is very elegant, and the customer usually has very high image of this brand. So the court held that Evora's advertisement and the way he advertised was unfair and seriously damaged Dior's reputation. And this gave Dior a legitimate reason, so the right of Dior was not exhausted in this case. In situation where the goods of parity importation is from outside of the single market, the European standard is quite clear that the trademark are not exhausted. Case refer to Silovita. In that case, the plaintiff export his good from Austria to Bulgaria on the condition that the good will only be sold in non-European Economic Area. However, the defendant somehow buys these goods in Bulgaria and sold them back to Austria. The problem is, at that time, countries such as Austria, Belgium, and Switzerland were supporting the international exhaustion principle according to their national laws. So the case was referred to European Court of Justice for clarification, and the court held that all member states should follow the regional exhaustion principle. So the plaintiff's trademark rights were not exhausted in that case. Okay, thank you. So that's the end of part two.
This part is about the trademark parallel importation in the US. In US, parallel importation of goods is known as the green marketing of goods. According to the customs duties regulation, restricted green market articles are foreign-made articles bearing a genuine trademark or trade name identical with or substantially indistinguishable from one owned or and recorded by the citizen of the United States or a corporation or association created or organized within the United States and imported without the authorization of the U.S. owner. Well, actually, in some early cases, the court held that the importation of parallel goods by third parties did not constitute infringement if the goods were genuine and did not confuse the public about their origin. And the most classic one is the Caso case. Before the Supreme Court reversed the Caso case, Congress reacted to the decision by attempting to solve the problem of parallel importation through legislation. Less than a year after the Caso case, Congress enacted Section 526 of the Tariff Act of 1922, which provides It shall be unlawful to import into the United States any merchandise of foreign manufacture if such merchandise or the label, sign, print, package, wrapper, or receptacle bears a trademark owned by the citizen of or by the corporation or association created or organized within the United States and registered in the Patent and Trademark Office by the person domiciled in the United States, unless written consent of the owner of such trademark is produced at the time of making entry. And the Supreme Court finally reversed the Caso decision. In written for the court, Justice Holmes reasoned that an infringement should be found because the statute authorizing assignment of trademarks would not allow the manufacturer to import the merchandise. Therefore, any importation, even by the third party, constitutes an infringement. According to the Customs Duties Regulation, restricted gray market articles include goods bearing a genuine trademark or trade name, which is applied by the license independent of the U.S. owner, or apply under the authority of a foreign trademark or trade name owner other than the U.S. owner, a parent or subsidiary of the U.S. owner, or a party otherwise subject to common ownership or control with the U.S. owner from whom the U.S. owner acquired the domestic title or to whom the U.S. owner sold the foreign titles, or applied by the U.S. owner, a parent or subsidiary of the U.S. owner, or a party otherwise subject to common ownership or control with the U.S. owner to goods that the Customs Service has determined to be physically and materially different from the articles authorized by the U.S. trademark owner for importation or sale in the U.S. Even though the goods are determined by the Customs Service to be physically and materially different under the procedures of this part, they shall not be detained under the provisions of paragraph C of this section, where the merchandise or its packaging bears a conspicuous and legible label stating that this product is not the product authorized by the United States trademark owner for importation and is physically and materially different from the authorized product.
Thanks for my partner. And in this part, I will talk about whether China's current trademark law can prohibit parallel importation, debates over legitimacy. The following is Article 57 of the Trademark Law of China. There are 7 paragraphs. I hope you can take a look at the first 3 paragraphs of this article carefully. The most commonly used paragraphs in our judicial practice are paragraph 1, 2, and 3. There are fewer cases of judicial administration in paragraph 4 and 5, and even less in paragraph 6 and 7. So far, no trademark infringement judgment has been made by applying paragraph 7 alone. Here are 4 components of parallel importation. Among them, C is the premise to discuss the problem of parallel importation. Because if a foreign trademark belongs to A, the domestic trademark belongs to B, and A and B are not the same subject, then there is no problem of parallel importation. In addition to C, in trademark infringement disputes, the defendant has the obligation to explain the legal source of his products, to prove that his products are imported legally, to bear the corresponding burden of proof in accordance with the above elements, and to provide sufficient evidence to prove that the goods are imported in parallel. You may wonder whether parallel importation sales violate China's trademark law. Let's see some judgments. In the first judgment, Beijing High Court held that whether parallel importation of trademarks is prohibited shall be determined in accordance with the provisions of current laws and regulations of China. The second judgment shows that for parallel importation, the trademark law, relevant administrative regulations, and judicial interpretation have no clear prohibition provisions. The third one is a judgment summary for this case. According to the principle of exhaustion of trademark rights, the imported and resold genuine goods will not cause confusion and misunderstanding of the source of the goods sold by the relevant public, and will not constitute trademark infringement. But in some cases, it will lead to trademark infringement. Here are 2 examples. After reading all the judgments, we may ask, does the court have a clear standard for parallel importation? At present, No matter for the definition of parallel importation or wide or narrow, in this sense, non-infringement first requires that this commodity in the exporting country is authorized by the trademark owner or the licensor to enter the circulation field legally, and it is a genuine product in the circulation field. Please look at the slide. The importer enters the importing country through the way of normal customs declaration and tax payment and normal commodity circulation. If the trademark right of the importing country is the same as that of the exporting country at this time, and the commodity and the trademark are not changed, the source of the commodity can also be truly reflected. Then it does not constitute trademark infringement. Realistic consideration. According to Chinese national conditions, in recent years, the types of international trade have developed rapidly, which has resulted in a variety of new trade means. Parallel importation is one of them. However, considering the current trademark law on the parallel importation does not give a clear attitude of exhaustion, which has led to the increasingly serious problem of trademark infringement. In the opinions on providing judicial protection for the construction of pilot free trade zone issued by the Supreme People's Court, it made principal provisions on parallel importation. We should properly deal with the problem of parallel importation of the trademark products and reasonably balance the interests of consumers, trademark owners, and national trade policies. The opinion reflects the Supreme Court's open attitude towards the legality of parallel importation goods. That is, it should be balanced with multiple interests and policy cases, rather than a general view. However, no matter from the perspective of the legal theory of intellectual property protection or from the perspective of current trade interests of our country, the discussion of trademark parallel importation still needs to be more in-depth. Now we can draw a conclusion. China's trademark law and other laws do not explicitly prohibit parallel importation of trademarks. Therefore, it is not against the provisions of China's trademark law and other laws to legally import products from other countries into China for sale.
Hi everyone, I'm Tong Yile. Next, I'd like to discuss 3 Chinese cases regarding parallel importation. The 3 well-known cases, namely the Luxor case, the Anchor Clothing case, and the Michelin tie case, are not only related to disputes over parallel importation in the trademark field, but also led to judicial proceedings. These are 3 common examples of cases that have drawn direct attention from the relevant people regarding the issue of parallel importation. The Luxor case, under agreements entered with Unilever, Shanghai Unilever Limited Company was authorized to exclusively use Luxor trademark in the mainland China. A Guangzhou-based company declared at Guangzhou Foshan Customs and intend to import 895 boxes of China-made Luxor. Shanghai Unilever lodged a lawsuit before Guangzhou Intermediate People's Court in June on the grounds of infringement based on its exclusive rights to use the Luxor trademark. The court ruled that defendants should stop infringement, apologize to the plaintiff, and compensate losses. As regards the issue of parallel importation, mentioned in the defendant's defense, the defendant failed to prove sufficient evidence to prove that the bench of soap was sourced from the trademark restraints or with its consent. Therefore, defense was not untenable. The Lux trademark infringement case took place during the Asia financial crisis. The Thai batch had depreciated substantially while China's RMB remained strong. And China was a high-priced market, which led to the parallel importation. Since China's trademark law does not have clear provisions on parallel importation, the judgment failed to respond directly to the issue of parallel importation, but bypassed this issue. Instead, the court's ruling was based on infringement on the part of the defendant for importation of counterfeit trademark products on the grounds of failure of the importer to prove that the import was genuine. In 2000, the Anchor Clothing case was another case in terms of parallel importation. In this case, the plaintiff Beijing Bahua Yining Trading Limited Company had the exclusive rights to use the French Angle trademark and dispute its products in some Chinese cities under a license agreement entered into with Angle Limited Company in October 2000. The defendant, Beijing Shiji Henyuan Science and Trading Limited Company, began in April 2001 to sell Angle clothing at a retail store owned by the other defendant, the Pacific Department Store Limited Company and Chongqing Metropolitan Plaza. The Angle clothing being sold was imported by others from the clothing distributor of Angle in Hong Kong Region Company. Plaintiff claimed that the two defendants had infringed upon its exclusive dealership rights, violated the business principles of good faith, and sought an injunction against Shiji Henyuan for unfair competition, compensatory damages, and a public apology. The court found that the act of the defendants did not amount to unfair competition and rejected the plaintiff's claims. The plaintiff in the case chose unfair competition rather than trademark infringement as a cause of action, thus avoiding the issue of parallel importation. In other words, even though the importation of grey market goods might not violate the AUCL because of the absence of consumer confusion, the court might hold that the importation violated the PRC trademark law based on the exclusive rights to the trademark, which were not exhausted by a first sale abroad. Unfortunately, the court did not have an opportunity to rule directly on the exhaustion claim because the plaintiff could not assert a claim on the trademark law and instead relied on the AUCL. The third case, machining tire case, the plaintiff was a well-known tire manufacturer and a Fortune 500 company, machining good. The defendants were two private businesses selling tire in Changsha. In April 2008, plaintiff found defendants selling products which violated plaintiff's exclusive rights to use a registered trademark and lodged a lawsuit before the court, claiming 100,000 yuan in damages. Defendants argued that the tires they sold were genuine products manufactured in Japan by the plaintiff and were legally obtained. Therefore, the sales would not infringe upon the plaintiff's exclusive trademark rights. The issues need to be brought squarely before the court. Could the owner of the registered trademark assert the exclusive rights on the trademark law as a basis to exclude the unauthorized importation of grey market goods? Once again, however, the court found authoritative grounds to resolve the case and avoided deciding the case on the basis of the parallel importation issue. The court found that the grey market tire had not obtained the Chinese compulsory product certification, a government approval that indicates that the product meets national safety standards. The court held that if the uncertified grey market goods had quality and safety problem, consumer would attribute the problems to machining and thereby damage machine's reputation in China. The court appealed to find that the importation of the grey market goods under these conditions could cause prejudice to the exclusive right of the owner of a registered trademark within the meaning of Article 52, subsection 5 of the trademark law. The machining case is significant because the court acknowledged the existence of the grey market goods and decided the case under the trademark law. In the last case discussed above, the court considered the goods to be counterfeit but not as parallel importation. In the Angle case, the court recognized the existence of the grey market goods but decided the case on the basis of AUCL. Although the machining court refused to allow the entry of a grey market goods, a number of commenters have argued that machining provides a roadmap for the successful importation of grey market goods into China. If the importer in machining had obtained the 3C certification, the court would have allowed the tire dealers to import the grey market goods without the prior authorization of the trademark owner. This case is considered to be the clearest indication that the PRC falls a regime of international exhaustion, permitting imports of grey market goods into China without the prior permission of the trademark owner, so known as the first sale occurred abroad. Next, I would pass mic blow to my teammate.
Good evening, everyone. This is Tim, and I would like to proceed the last part of our presentation. In this part, we will first go through the hypothetical but a typical parallel import case and see what we can learn from it. A typical scenario involving a parallel import arises in the following way. The brand owner registers a trademark in China and sets up a manufacturing facility in China in the form of a joint venture with a local Chinese partner. The brand owner then licensing the trademark rights to its joint China venture, which serves a manufacturer facility to produce the trademark goods for sale in China and in some instances for export to countries abroad, such as Japan. The goods exported from China are purchased abroad by a distributor in a foreign country who attempts to import the goods back into China. In the variation of the typical scenario, the brand owner enters into a licensing agreement with a licensee in a third country to manufacture the goods for sale in a foreign market. A third party, such as a distributor, then purchases the goods in the third country and attempts to import them into China, where the brand owner has licensed the registered trademark to its joint venture. In these situations, the trademark owner or its licensee attempts to block the importation of the parallel goods with the strength of the exclusive rights created by the registered trademark. The claim by the trademark owner or the licensee is that the importation of the parallel imports without its consent will constitute an infringement of the exclusive rights of the owner's PRC trademark. So, in order to constitute a parallel import case, several features below must exist. First, the trademark in question has been registered in both countries or regions. Second, the trademark goods are authentic. Third, the importation shall abide the law. Lastly, the imports are prohibited by the trademark owner in the importing country. So it is quite a hard case to build up a real parallel import business, isn't it? Why do I see this? Frankly speaking, the first legal issue pop up in my head is smuggling. Even considering the reduction of the duty and tax after China becoming a party of the WTO, the tax rate of our country is relatively high, even if there is a price discrimination before the tax. But how about after the tax? Who will continuing a business which is not profitable? So what is the real problem here is smuggling, not the parallel importation. It is all agreed that the contemporary Chinese entrepreneurs are either already in the prison or on their way to it. I believe in the field of so-called parallel importation, the number of criminal cases is far more than the civil one. This may explain why China has not shown its standard or attitude towards the parallel importation, because there is simply no practical need. Other than this, it is indeed a tough question for China to make its choice, since there are several competing interests. Because the debate over whether to permit parallel imports of trademark goods in China implicates important and sensitive political, economic, and legal issues. First, pressure from the international community. China is sensitive to the perception that it does not respect foreign intellectual property and technology. Also, China has been portrayed frequently in the media as tolerating or even supporting the counterfeiting or piracy. To counter this perception, China may feel pressured to adopt an exhaustion regime that is comparable to the major trading powers with which China now compares itself. Second, critics have accused China of adopting trade policies that use the rules of international trade to gain a competitive edge in the modern global economy. Adoption of national exhaustion would protect China's domestic manufacturers from foreign import competition and allow China to develop its domestic industries in a protected environment. Third, China depends heavily on foreign investment as a driver of its economic growth, and foreign investments plays a significant role in China's remarkable rise in the world economy. Most companies will likely to wish to be able to block the unauthorized importation of gray market goods, because such imports will undermine the company's ability to engage in price discrimination among different national markets. A company desire the ability to price products in different countries at varying prices in accordance with the financial ability of the consumer in that particular country to pay for the goods. Lastly, the economic rationale in China for allowing power line imports and adopting a rule of international exhaustion is to create more choices for consumers and the lower prices for the same products or similar products. Distributors import gray market goods because they are cheaper than the comparable genuine goods produced in China. But as discussed before, whether there is a profitable room for doing such business is very questionable. That's all for today's presentation. Thank you for listening.